Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to attempt to diagnose and fix a problem that's become increasingly worse over the past few months. I had mentioned in one of my previous videos that there was this hollow clanking sound that was emanating from behind the driver and the passenger side. Some of my viewers had some suggestions as to what the problem may be, and I thank you for those suggestions, and I listened. And I think I have it narrowed down to two potential issues. One of those potential issues may be with the sway bar end links, the other with the control arm, which is also known as a tuning fork. I'm going to go and grab the replacement parts to show you, and while I do that, I'm going to play a video where I recorded the sound that I am talking about. I'll see you back here in just a moment. So here we have the sway bar end link, and this is the control arm. You can probably see why it's also called a tuning fork. I bought these from an OEM supplier. I will link them down below in the description. Before we get started, we're going to have to remove the tire on the car, and of course we're going to place these on both sides. All right, let's get started. For safety purposes, I have the jack and the jack stands, and then when I remove the tire, I'm going to place it underneath the car for triple safety. So now let's get the tire off. All right, so here we have our sway bar end link, and then over on the other side, we have our control arm. We're gonna need to remove this here to gain access to the control arm. Now we're using this 10mm socket, and we're going to remove the cover. Now that we remove the cover, we will be able to get access to the control arm. Here we're using an 18mm socket to remove the nut on the sway bar end link. So now I'm counter holding with a 17mm flat wrench because it was counter spinning. All right, now I'm going to finish this the rest of the way by removing this by hand. All right, it's coming out pretty easy for here. All right, I've now removed this end, and now we're going to have to remove the bottom. All right, so now I'm using a 16mm wrench. I am counter holding with a 17mm flat wrench. I'm gonna finish removing this by hand. And now we're gonna put in the new one. So now I'm gonna thread the new one in. Good, that slid in easily. Thread the nut on. All right, now I got the bottom. All right, good, that was easy. Now I just gotta tighten this. Once everything's been tightened, you're then gonna torque it to 48 foot-pounds.
There you go. You got the.
Woo. In order to get in here, we had to remove part of the underbody shield. And when we did that, found a little friend in there. Poor guy. Not happy to see that I've got a mouse tucked in my undershield here. Anyway, all right, so let's start loosening this and get it removed. Okay, so we're gonna loosen this down here. The socket is an 18. The wrench is a 21. And just to mention too, while I'm doing this, now that this area is exposed, this is also a good time to take a look at some other stuff in here. Your brakes, your brake lines, And just make sure that there isn't anything going on in here that may need to be addressed. My brakes look pretty good, but I think I'm gonna need to replace those coming up here soon. All right, we're getting there. It is free now. There it is. So of the two things, we think this is really the culprit, was making the noise. You can see it is absolutely shot here.
There's nothing.
All right, so just to compare, here's the new control arm. You can't even move it, it's so stiff. All right, so I think we figured out what the problem was. It is in fact the control arm. But obviously once we get this done, we'll take it out for a drive and make sure. All right, let's get this new one in.
Hey, you know, I'm gonna have to wiggle this around. Right there.
Okay. Find me the wrench of this.
It's an 18 millimeter.
18 millimeter. All right, the bolts are now tightened. We're now going to torque it to 118 foot-pounds. So this is the most difficult part of the whole job. Is tightening it to
sacrifice yourself.
118 foot-pounds.
Tight.
All right, good.
Now I gotta do this one.
Now we're going to do the one on the back.
Tight.
So we've now successfully replaced both the end links and the control arms on the rear portion of the vehicle. In the interest of time, I'm not going to show the full process of replacing on the driver's side, but there's a couple things I want to note. The tuning fork on the driver's side was in equally bad condition, so it's a good thing we replaced it. We probably could have gotten away with just replacing that and not also replacing the sway bar end links, but certainly no harm in doing that. Speaking of the sway bar end links, that is where we hit a bit of a snag on the driver's side. When we removed the old end link, the wheel carrier assembly shifted. And what happened was when we tried to put the new one in, this portion here, we could not thread it through because now it was out of alignment. So it took quite a bit of effort. It required two of us to get that alignment back in place. And then I was able to successfully thread this through. Otherwise, had that not happened, the job would have gone much more quickly. But I just wanted to give a warning. You know, if you do this yourself, sometimes these strange things happen and adds a little time to the project. We're now going to take the car out for a quick drive, and we're going to confirm that in fact the noise is gone. All right, well, as you just heard from that short video clip, the sound is now gone. It is such a relief that when I'm driving this car, I no longer have to hear that clanking sound. In terms of time, I would set aside probably about 4 hours of time to complete the project. And in terms of cost, the parts cost around $430. Now, I don't know how much it would cost to have a mechanic do it, but if I had to venture to guess, I would imagine it's going to be more than $430. So at the end of the day, it may be worth doing yourself if able. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you for being here. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.